everyone, this is Debbie from Project 39 Mini Albums. I am bringing to you a mini album that measures 4 by 4 1/4. This is the exact same design that I made with my graduation tiny mini album. I will link that below. I had made another one trying to replicate it, but I didn't have it in front of me, so it wasn't the exact size, so people have been asking for one that's the exact size. I think the one I made was 3.5 by 4.5. This is 4 by 4 1/4. I used on here fabulous paper from Biddy Penny. It was called Four Seasons. I actually cut down the front of the pad and just took out the part that said Seasons in it. Now, isn't that design? I'm trying to get it so you don't see the glare from the foil that's around there, but isn't that a beautiful design? I did on the outside layer it with some gold foil paper, some turquoisey paper, and then some of the paper from the pad. And then again, that is just from the front of the pad. So I'm going to show you the tutorial and then we'll do a final walkthrough. So let me show you how I made it. All right, to start, I have 3 pieces of chipboard, 2 that are 4 by 4 1/4, and 1 piece that's 1.5 by 4 1/4. I have a piece of cardstock that is 6 1/4 by 11. I am going to just do my best to center this. Now, if you want, you can find the center with a centering ruler. You can score it in the center. You could do whatever you want to find the center, but I am going to eyeball it. And also, if you used a 12 by 12 piece of paper that you cut down to 6 1/4, that would probably be best, but 11 inches will do fine. All right, I'm going to take my 1/4 inch double-sided permanent adhesive. This is the Scrapbook.com brand. Score tape would work just as well. I like to add this on both sides of the chipboard spine. It helps give it an extra area to adhere, and it also strengthens it, and I tend to not get any cracking. So I'm going to peel off the backing. There we go. And then I've got already my, I used 4-inch tape in a roll from scrapbook.com. And this is the 4 1/4. This is the 4. So I'm going to place this. I'm not putting it down yet because once it's down, it's stuck because the adhesive on here, and that is just going to make it stick. So I'm going to go not quite 1/4 inch. I want a little bit less of a gap, but maybe about 3/16 of an inch. So I would say 3 thicknesses of the chipboard, but you don't want to cut it up and put it down on the adhesive. So anyhow, I'm putting it down, making sure the bottom and the top are lined up, and I see I have a really small margin there, but you know what, I'll be okay. Peel off that backing and do the same for this side. So you have a little bit more of a margin here, which will be fine. I'm going to burnish here. Okay, then I'm going to grab some scissors and cut off my corners, trying to stay about 1/8 of an inch away from that chipboard. Now, if you want, you can go ahead and put some tape on the side of the chipboard, but you don't have to. I just did on this side because I have such a small little gap there. I'm going to fold this using my surface to get a good crease. And then I'm going to add my glue. So I'm using the Designer Dress Clear Adhesive from the Art Institute Glitter. Art Institute Glitter Ink. I'm not saying it wrong. I read it and said, really? I've been saying it wrong all this time. I keep calling it the Art Glitter Institute. It's not. All right, and I'm going to go around the outside of this flap. So I know a lot of people like to use double-sided permanent adhesive score tape on here and on there. I don't feel like it's necessary, but if you want to, go ahead. All right, and I'm just using my bone folder to burnish. Now the glue is seeping out there, but I'm careful not to touch it with my bone folder. All right, so there's one side. I'll do the other long side next. Put a strip of glue, just a bead of glue, next to that chipboard. Go out, go around, and zigzag. And then use the beveled edge of the bone folder to push it. So what that does is it pushes the glue against the edge of the chipboard. And now I'm just sort of burnishing at the very top of the edge of the chipboard and then burnishing until I feel like it has adhered. All right, now I'll do, so you could push it in here, you know, where those corners meet. Oops. I should go along the edge. Going along the edge not only helps the glue stick to the edge of the chipboard, but it also softens the fiber in your cardstock and helps it fold a little bit. But usually I like it to sit for a minute, so I'll usually go around all four corners and then glue it down. I didn't do that this time. Around the edge of the cardstock, or the edge of the chipboard, and then just right up at the edge. Now I already have that double-sided adhesive, so I don't need to zigzag there. And then I'll pull it down. Since I have that double-sided adhesive, that's going to stick quicker, and that's okay. And then I'll go along the edge. So if you had those little corners sticking out, this will take care of it. And then I'll use this blunt, rounded point of the bone folder and go down in this channel and get the adhesive that's on the top portion facing down to stick with the adhesive that's on the bottom of the paper facing up. So those two will meet and stick. And I'll do that here. And then I'll fold this and fold that. And we're good. All right, I'm going to let that sit for a little bit while I work on the hinge. So the hinge is 3 7/8 by 8.5. And the reason it's 3 7/8 is because my pages are going to be 4. Just wanted a little bit smaller than my pages. But you could do 4 if you wanted to. Now I am going to start at 2, then do 2.5, 3. So that is one set of hinges. They're each 1/2 inch. Now I'll do one more score. Well, I'll do a bunch more scores. But the next score is going to be the gusset, and that's 3 3/8. Then I'll do 3 7/8, 4 3/8, 4 3/4, 5 1/4, 5 3/4, 6 1/8, 6 5/8, 7 1/8, and that's it. So what we have is 4 sets of hinges that are 1/2 inch and 3 gussets. Now, I'm going to take this and turn it over so we have the bumpy part facing up. And we're going to fold between each of those 1/2 inch hinges. So I have a 1/2 inch piece here and a 1/2 inch piece there. I'll fold in the center on that score line. And then burnish. Then I'm going to skip a score line, fold. And when I'm folding, I'm making sure the edges are lined up nicely. Skip, skip, fold. And skip, skip, fold. So that is all of the 4 hinges in the center. They have a score line. Okay, then I'm going to put it on my surface with the bumpy side facing down now. And if you pull this paper, I mean, I'm holding it loose, but if you pull it, the part that you burnish is going to come up and create just a V, an upside down V. So I'm going to pinch that together and fold at the base. So that is one hinge, one set of hinges. It's 2 half-inch pieces. So there we go. I don't have any glue in there. I'm just training the paper. And I'm going to do the same. I'm going to pull this towards me, sort of holding it with my thumb and my fingers, and go back and forth. And I'll do that with the other 3 hinges until we get those 3 or 4 hinges facing up. I'm going to take my bone folder, I'm going to pull these close together so the gusset is down on the surface, and I'll pull this towards me, and you'll be able to see that they're parallel, so they're nice, and everything's the gussets are flat against the surface, the hinges are folded nicely, and I'll push them away from me and burnish again. So there we go. Now I'll have them all facing up, and I'll grab my glue. I'm going to turn it over so the pointy mountains are facing down, and I'm going to open this up a little bit and take my glue and zigzag back and forth from about 1/4 of an inch and end at about 1/4 of an inch, so there's a gap. And then I'll just take a bead of glue and go close to the top. I'm not exactly at the top, but close. Then I'm going to turn this over and pinch that together and go back and forth. And so we've glued a hinge. Now we're still going to burnish it, but I'm just doing sort of finger burnishing. I'm going to work fairly quickly, so start 1/4 of an inch away, zigzag, stop at 1/4 of an inch away, and do a line of glue. Turn it upside down, squeeze that together, and work on the next one. And one more. So there we go. Okay, now I'm going to take my bone folder and burnish. Now if you have glue seeping out at the edge or on your bone folder, make sure you clean it up. But I'll burnish and then push them all away from me and burnish again. And there you've got your set of hinges. Beautiful. All right, so we have the hinges, 4 hinges. The part in between is the gusset, and these 2 end pieces I call the wings. I'm going to put them down, just trying to figure out where they need to be. So when I add glue, I know how to get it centered. And I do want it centered, so you want the same amount from the bottom of the hinge to the bottom of your covered chipboard, and the top of the hinge to the top of the covered chipboard, and about, no, I don't know, less than 1/4 of an inch on each side. You'll see where it's going to be centered. So sort of memorize that. Now we're going to turn this over. It's got some movement to it. I'm going to take some glue, and starting about 1/4 of an inch from the edge, add a bead of glue in that channel between the wing and the gusset. And here another bead of glue in that channel between the 2 gussets, another bead of glue, and one more bead of glue. Now I'm going to zigzag. I'm adding a little more glue than I had used before, but it's not totally soaked with glue. So we've got zigzags in those 3 gussets. So I'll turn it upside down again. And I knew where I wanted to put it, so I'm just eyeballing it before I drop it down. And then I'll put it down. I haven't pushed it, so you still have some chance to make any corrections. All right, so there's 4 hinges, which means 3 gussets, which is great. We have an odd number, so we're going to start in the center. I'm going to move those hinges away so I can get to the center. I'm eyeballing it just to make sure it's straight. I'll take my finger. Now you could use your bone folder if you want, but my finger is the exact right thickness because I guess I have fat fingers. I'm going to start in that center gusset, start from the top and sort of push it and go to the middle, and here start from the bottom and go up. So that the gusset is flat on the center spine. Now I'm going to take the hinge to the left of that gusset we worked on and move it over. And you'll probably see that some of this will move over with it, which is what we want. And then I'll start from the top, go to the middle, start from the bottom, go to the middle, and we got that. Now I'm going to go over to the right side of that center gusset and do the same. Now again, you want to work fairly quickly because you don't want the glue to dry. All right, I'll go over to this side and just push that down. We don't have any, we have glue underneath the hinge, but nowhere else. And then once I've gotten that down, I'm going to just burnish, not really too hard, but just make sure that glue is distributed and get all those hinges facing straight up again. And now we'll take this wing on the right and I'll open it up. And there's a little bit of glue, but we need more. So I'm going to start again about 1/4 inch from the top and just zigzag in this. Oh, it's not even 1/4 inch. It's a little more than 1/8 inch, but on this chipboard piece. Now we've got double-sided adhesive down in this channel, but we don't have any adhesive in this area here and here. So I'm going to add some glue there. Not a lot, just enough to have the paper stick. And then I'm going to zigzag a little right next to the chipboard on the back inside cover. And then I'll go around the wing. I don't need to go here because I already have that there. So now I'll push that down and start from the top and go down. I'm going right against that hinge. And here I'm going from the bottom and going up. I see glue moving, so I'm just going to distribute it without pushing too hard. Okay, and then very gently taking that rounded part of my bone folder. If you don't have a rounded part, you could take a corner and just go, I don't know, several times until this paper is trained to sit here. Now, I want this wing to attach to the double-sided adhesive that we put right next to the chipboard. So I'm going to open the page and that will bend this paper and help it adhere. So I'm going back and forth a couple times till it gets trained, and then I'll burnish here because we did have some glue there. All right, we'll move all this. I'm going to actually turn it around this way and do the same to this side. Put some glue here in this channel, some glue on this side of that channel, and around here, and some there. Fold that down and burnish, and burnish, and then go in this channel, go back and forth several times. I say open, close the book. You know, the cover's going to come up towards you. So everything matches and meets and adheres. Burnish this. And I'm going to let this dry before I play with it anymore, because if you play with it too much, you're going to get sort of bubbles here. It's not the worst thing in the world, but if we just let that dry while we make the base pages, we can go back and burnish it some more before we put the pages in. So I'm going to move that aside. So base pages. I have 4 pages that are 4 inches by 7. Our pages are going to be 3.5, so I doubled that, and that's how I got the 7 inches. I'm going to put the 7-inch side at the top and score at 3.5 for all of those. Easy. Easy schmeezy. These are easy pages. You know, sometimes with my smaller books, I just tend to do easy pages. We'll go ahead and fold and burnish. And when I'm folding, I'm making sure that we have the sides lined up nicely. Now, I almost always, like to make my base pages and add features to them. You could, of course, I could have made this 8.5 inches or 11, depending on how you cut it, and then fold and have flaps or whatever you wanted to. I like to start with a base page, sort of like a blank slate. All right, that was pretty quick, but I still have time to burnish. So again, I'm taking the rounded part of my bone folder. By the way, this is a Dress Your Craft #2 non-stick bone folder. I've noticed as I'm scoring, or burnishing, I've gotten a couple of lines. I'm going to take a very fine emery board and soften this up and just try to get rid of those lines. I might have burnished on something. I can feel it here. But anyhow, you can sand this down. So there we go. All right, now here's the back, here's the front. I am going to put glue on half of the hinge, and it's the half closest to where this part comes up, the tallest part of the mountain. So I'm just going to zigzag, don't need too much, on the top portion of the part facing the back. I'm going to take one of my pages with the opening facing to the left. I'll put this down, I'll fold this hinge over, making sure it's right in the middle of the page and my page is parallel with the bottom of my book. It's not, I'm moving it over. Then I'll take a bead of glue and zigzag here. And then I want to close this off because I'm going to make it a pocket. So I'm going to take a bead of glue and go down at the bottom. So I'll fold this over and burnish lightly and burnish here. I'm going to burnish it again later, but that's good for now. So again, I'm going to zigzag, put this where it needs to be, matching it up with the last page I put in. Now I'm not putting the pages right to the very bottom. There's still about 1/8 of an inch showing on the hinge. You could go a little more than that, but don't have it right up against the bottom of the hinge. It will inhibit movement. It just won't move that freely. Go along the bottom. If you forget, like I have, once you're all done, you can open this up on the bottom and put a bead of glue. See, this one's a little less. I didn't put this one. I have a little less than 1/8 of an inch showing. So here, zigzag, add my page, make sure it's equal to the other pages, zigzag here, and go across. And there you go. There we've got our book with base pages, our hinge, and then I'm going to go and just burnish. And there we go. So there we have our book. Now, you could cover this with more cardstock if you want, but I'm going to put pattern paper on it so I don't see the need. You could if you wanted to. All right, let's start adding features to the pages. So for page 1F, the front of page 1, I usually label these 1F, 2F, 3F, 4F, inside back cover, and that's inside front cover. And then you could do 1B, etc. But for the front of page 1, you're going to need 2 pieces of cardstock that are 4 inches by 3 inches, and 1 piece, that's 3.5 by 1.5. Yeah, it doesn't match yet, but bear with me. The 3.5 by 1.5 with the 3.5 inside at the top, score it half, rotate, score it half, rotate, and score it half. These 2 flaps we're going to take in with the 3-inch side at the top, score at 1/2 inch. for both of those. We're going to miter these. All right, so this pocket has our 3 score lines. For the part where we've got the score lines that intersect, we're going to cut across that intersection. And here I'm going to cut at the top and at the top. So that's what that looks like. For our 2 pages, I'm going to start it at that indentation from our score line and miter up to the top. So it's about 1/8 of an inch. I guess I love that measurement. So there we go with those. Now I'm going to take my bone folder and burnish on those score lines. Incidentally, if I didn't say before, I'm using 65-pound cardstock. I needed some more for the inside our hidden pockets, the pockets we made with the pages. And I went through my stash. I didn't have any more of this, but I did have the same color in a heavier weight, and I use that for the tags that are going to go in the pocket. All right, so we have our flaps. I'm going to add glue. And one piece is going to go on the left side and put it on the page. Don't put it on the hinge. So you put it on that base page, not on the hinge. And I'll put one on the right side. And burnish. I'm going to burnish both of those at once. All right, I'll burnish inside. Okay, so now here we've got a small flap, and I'm going to add a pocket. Now, you could add a pocket on one side or both sides, on the front, on the back, or you could make 4 pockets for this whole thing if you wanted to. Just to show you though, I'm going to add one on the inside flap. It's actually going to be the inside left flap. So I'm gluing the bottom first and making sure that matches up with the bottom of the page, and then I'll go ahead and glue the tabs on the sides. Now sometimes you'll see me put tape, and I'll show you. We'll do the tape trick later, so I'll address it then. I am going to use magnets on my pages. You don't have to. It's such a small book. Things aren't going to go wonky. I'm adding a little scrap of double-sided permanent adhesive. And I put my magnets that I got from Total Elements in here. I'm using, what size are these? A 1/4 inch. They're a 1/4 inch by 1/32 of an inch. So yeah, they're small. I'm going to put one on that tape. I'm about a 1/4 inch away from the edge of the paper. I'm going to push it down. All right, I'm going to grab a scrap of paper, grabbing some black paper, and I'm going to just lay it down and let that magnet find its place. I don't know. I'm going to push this down. I put a little dab of glue on here. I'll push it down and I can see where that glue is. And I'm going to add another piece of double-sided adhesive right where that glue is. And peel off the backing. Let those 2 magnets find their match. And there we go. So I've put my magnet down. Now you could use basic gray magnets that already have the adhesive on it, but I get all my magnets from Total Elements. It's just it saves me so much money. All right, we're going to do a small flap. Whoops, there goes my scoreboard. I have a piece of paper that is 2 by 2.5 with the 2.5 side at the top, we'll score it 1 inch. I have small flaps because the paper that I'm using, I have small elements that I can use. Now I've done another book like this and I put 1 flap here and 1 flap there, which you could do. You could have the flap coming from the top. You could have 4 flaps on 1 page. I'm just giving you options. I'm going to put glue on that tab and put it about 1/2 inch from the top. Now I do have these tiny magnets. I have 3/16 of an inch magnets. I don't have any here. I just need to restock my little thing. You can't put too many in at once. I have these, what size are these? 1/8 of an inch. These are too small. I shouldn't have gotten these, but I'm going to use it since I have it, and it's a small little flap. So I'm going to put a little piece of double-sided adhesive there. Peel it off, put one of these magnets there. It'll hold. I mean, even though it's a small piece, a small magnet, it'll hold for this little flap. Can you see it? Can you even see that little magnet? Add my glue so I see where it, whoops. See where it needs to be. Put this right over that glue mark. Burnish, peel off the backing. Push that down. Okay, there we go. All right, that's all I'm going to do with that. Now I have, actually I have 2. We're going to do 2 at once. 4.5 by 2. This page is 3.5, so you need it an inch bigger. 4.5 by 2. I am going to put the 4.5 side at the top, score it half, rotate, score it half, rotate, score it half. Do the same with this one because they're the same. And I am going to, again, I'll turn it this way. So we have an X created by our score lines, cut right across that X, miter the top. So just take off a little piece. Miter, miter, cut across the X, cut across the X. And let's burnish. I am going to I am going to add glue to the bottom tab and put it on the back of page 2. Again, you're putting it on the page, not on the hinge. And I'll burnish there. Now I'm going to grab a piece of tape. That's probably, I'm doing about 3 inches. And I'm just going to put it on this flap. Because if for some reason I'm using a smaller piece of paper that doesn't go all the way to the bottom, you can still put things in there, and that tape helps it to, it won't impinge on the movement of adding something to the pocket. So I'll add glue to those 2 side tabs and burnish. I'm going to have that same kind of pocket I'm going to put on the back of page 3. So I will burnish and do the exact same thing. Add it here. Add my little tapey. Add glue to the tabs, the side tabs, and burnish. I'm skipping page 4. I'm going to the inside back cover. I have 2 pieces for that. One piece is for the pocket. It's 5 by 2. Another piece is for the top flap. Grab my scoreboard. So the pocket, of course, we're going to score on the 2 short sides and 1 long side. So with the 5-inch side at the top, score at 1/2 inch, rotate, score at 1/2 inch, rotate, and score at 1/2 inch. And this piece is 3 7/8 by 4 1/4. With the 4 1/4 side at the top, I'm going to score at 1/2 inch. I'm going to round the bottom of this corner. And I'm going to cut on the score lines created by that X. Same as we did for those other pockets. Cut at the top, cut at the top. And I'm going to add this to the bottom of the inside back cover. Add a piece of tape to there just to make sure it goes on. Everything will go in smoothly. And put glue on these 2 flaps on the side and adhere that. And for the top, the reason we made it 3 7/8 as opposed to 4 is just so this page will still open. You don't want it to get in the way of the opening. So I'll add glue onto the top, add that to the top, staying close to the right hand side of that back cover, and burnish that on. And that is it for the features of the book. I'll go ahead and add a magnet to that. That's it. So now I'm going to decorate this and show you what we come up with. That was pretty easy, wasn't it? All right, let me show you. We'll do a walkthrough of this book and I'll show you what is in it. So obviously we talked about the front cover. I did use a corner punch to do the front. I used a, what's it called? It's this We Are Memories. I guess that's the scallop punch. And then I did the stub on the 2 layers. And the layers measure, incidentally, the first layer was 4 1/8 by 3 7/8. The next layer was 3 7/8 by 3 5/8. And then the next one was 3 3/4 by 3 1/2. That was the decorative paper. I did layer on the side. The gold was 4 1/8 by 1 1/2, and then 3 7/8 by 1 about 1 1/4, a little bit more. And then the next one was 3 5/8 by 1 1/8. And then the back was just 4 1/8 by 3 7/8. So, and that is the size for the inside back covers and inside front covers. Before I layered down the paper, I did add some glue and some double-sided adhesive and put on this ribbon. The ribbon measures, it was about 8 inches. I did that on the front and back cover. So here's the inside front cover. Here is that first page with the flaps. Actually goes like that because there's the magnet on the underside. This was the same image. I just cut it down so it's sort of coordinated. I mean, isn't that paper, we'll do it this way, isn't that paper just gorgeous? There's that little pocket there. I put something in the pocket. I layered this paper on here and then put one of the images. I just cut it down. So that'll go like that. And then here are the tags. I don't think I told you the measurement of the tags. They're 2 3/4 by 4. And then I just cut one corner off of it and then put it over here to cut, and then just sort of use this one as a template and cut them all down. I used some gold foil. I just punched a hole in it. I put in the ribbon, and I stapled a little staple just to keep that all nice and neat. And so there's 4 of those tags. Here's the next page. This is spring. Here's summer. That'll open like that. I just thought this paper was really pretty. So I glued these 2 together and made that a little tuck spot, and then this will stay here because there is a magnet holding that closed. Here is the next page. So we have another pocket. I added some of these elements to the pocket. I think that's for spring, but I just added it in there. But isn't that pretty? Oh, this paper is just gorgeous. So Bitty Penny does have a shop, bittypenny.com. I think she's got a couple of collections in there. I know she's going to be coming out with some more digitals. So go check out her site. She's got some other fun things for sale in her shop. And then here is winter. Just a couple of these pretty images. And then the back, this actually was from her Easter paper. I just liked it a lot, and I saved this sheet. So I added a little photo mat, fussy cut this one flower, just cut it down and put it on here. And then this will open like that. Now in this 4 Seasons collection, there was one page that had these beautiful, strong, confident looking women of all different seasons. So I just added them into here. So there is that. There is the back. And here we are back to the front. So just a cute little mini album. It's great for a stash buster if you have smaller scraps. It's great for a collection that you want to showcase. It's great for a little gift. As you saw, I made the graduation albums. You could do little birthday paper. I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do one with birthday paper. So anyhow, lots of fun things to do with this. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I would appreciate it if you gave me a thumbs up. If you really like it, there's a link to buy me a coffee. But otherwise, just enjoy, have fun. I do enjoy that I share my passion of paper crafting to you all. So thank you so much. Have a fabulous day.